Hello everybody, this is Mrs. Joyce. Today I'm going to be taking you through an approach to question 3 on language paper 1 for the GCSE that will help you, an approach that will help you to actually get cracking on this question, which is often quite difficult. So this question is the question that a lot of people find a stumbling block to getting the paper completely finished. And this is a full disclaimer here. This is not going to get you full marks, but what it will enable you to do is use the paper to help yourself to get started on what can sometimes be considered to be quite a nerve-wracking question. So let's take a look at the question itself. How has the writer structured the text to interest the reader? Now, this is the same question every time. The only difference is the extract. The extract I'm looking at today, the question I'm looking at today, is one of the papers that you have been given on Teams. It is a sample paper called Glass, Dust and Bricks. It's a fantastic story. Okay, so how has the writer structured the text to interest the reader? You could talk about what the writer focuses your attention on at the beginning, how and why this writer changes this focus as the source develops, and any other structural features that interest you. Okay, so these 3 bullet points should really be should rather than could. And what we can actually do is we can take these bullet points and we can adjust them so that they become sentence starters. So if we look at our very first one, what the writer focuses your attention on at the beginning. If we get rid of that word what, we then have the writer focuses, and we're going to get rid of your and make it my attention on, and then we're going to put a little one in there because then we can add in what we actually want to say, and then we can continue our paragraph. If we look at the second bullet point, we've got our sentence starter for our second point. How and why the writer changes this focus as the source develops. So, again, make it a capital letter. The writer changes this focus, and we can add in a word to, and add it in as the source develops, because, and then we can continue our answer. Now, the last bullet point doesn't give us any help for our third point, but if it's pretty logical, yeah? If we have talked about the beginning with bullet point 1, and we have talked about the middle. Oh, there goes my page. Welcome to using my computer. The middle with bullet point 2. It's really logical that bullet point 3 will be about the end. Okay, so, but how do I know what to write, Mrs. Joyce? I don't know what to focus on. Okay, so we know we've got to look at the beginning of the text. And we've already read the beginning of the text because we've already answered question 1. That's actually going to give us more information than we might think, because obviously we have to read the whole text all the way through, but we've already read it for question 1. And if we actually look at question 1, we can see we're actually told what that paragraph is about. List 4 things from this source about the boy. So I know that my first paragraph, the beginning of the text, is about the boy. So we can actually say, computer's being very unhelpful, apologies, at the beginning of the text, the writer focuses my attention, look at me using those words from bullet point 1, attention on the boy. And then I can pick first line as my quotation. And then I can go on to explain that in more detail. As I said, this is about getting started, not answering the whole thing in enough detail to get 8 marks. Okay, but that's just paragraph 1, miss. I need to look at paragraph 2. Well, guess what? No matter what the examiner does, they will always give you a question 2 that looks at a different section of the text. And we don't have to look at the next focus shift. We just have to look at a focus shift. Okay, so if we look at question 2, we can see where a focus shift occurs. Look in detail from lines 5 to 15. How does the writer use language here to describe the boy playing in the evening? So we know that we have a shift here from the description of the boy to the boy playing. So we can come back lines 5 to 15. So we know that the opening there, and we're coming right the way down to line 15. So we know that it's going to be approximately here. We can then say the focus shifts and I'll changes this focus. The focus shifts, or the writer changes this focus to the boy playing. In paragraph 2. Because, and then we can carry on. And we've got our second thing. And then if we're looking at we're looking for a quotation. So let's find a quotation we can use. And we said paragraph 2, so let's have a look. Actually, we're probably better off looking at around about line 5 or 6. Top of the mound, he was in charge. We didn't want to, looking at like shattered marbles maybe, because that's marbles are about playing. So again, what we've got here is we know that that shift change goes from just a description of the boy to what he is doing. Okay, and we've picked that up from that extract. So any other structural feature that interests you? Now, I've advised us to look at the ending. Guess what? Question 4 asks us to focus on the end. This part of the extract where the boy's game comes to life takes a darker and more chilling tone. Now, because this question is always going to be on something that we can agree or disagree with, that could be wrong, but they're never ever going to give us something that's totally inaccurate. So we do have to do a little bit of reading here. But essentially, we know that at the end of the extract, the boy's game comes to life. Okay, so let's have a look at the end of the extract. And we go right the way down to the very bottom. And we have the boy thundered along the silent streets. He stood in the orange light beneath the lamppost. "Give them back," he shouted. Nothing happened, although he could hear the rustle of feathers coming from the darkness above the light. The boy ran to the top of the mound. "Give them back!" "But I haven't got them," the man's face glowed. "You have." In the gloom, it was hard to make out the tiny creatures. Okay, last line, but the man was a lamppost again. Now, to date, the exam board has never given us the end of a text. They have always given us something from either the beginning or the middle, which means that it is very, very, very likely that we will have a cliffhanger at the end of our text. And we have that here. Cliffhangers are a great thing to talk about because they're really easy. Because a cliffhanger is always going to build tension. But the man was a lamppost again. So, gone for the beginning, the middle, at the end. At the end of the source, the writer uses a cliffhanger to build tension. And then we can carry on and explain. We've got our quotation. We know that that cliffhanger is there because it's at the end of the text, and at the end of the text there's pretty much nearly always a cliffhanger. We also know from question 4 that we're talking about it being darker and more chilling and more scary. So again, we've got that from our question 4. And we can continue to build our answer. As I said, this is not going to get you the full 8 marks, but you've only got 10 minutes to write this. So it means that if you write this properly, what you will have and use these techniques, you will have almost like a scaffold to pin your answers to. And for those of you who are very nervous about this question, it means that you can give it a go and not be so afraid. Okay? Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found that helpful. Any questions, obviously you can find me in my classroom or comment below. Thank you very much, guys. Bye.